I want you all to be giving thoughts about running for office. And don't tell me you don't know enough, you're not smart enough. I work in the United States Senate. You're plenty smart. Today, in this beautiful July day. Oh, it's not July, is it? It's November. There is another issue which comes to mind, and we're experiencing it today. And if people are not content to see the strength of Secretary Clinton's positions versus Mr. Trump's on so many issues, I would hope, for the sake of our kids, our grandchildren, and the future of this planet, that people look at this one issue. Secretary Clinton holds the very radical view that as president, she should listen to scientists. I realize that is a very controversial statement, that we should listen to science, but that is what she believes, and that's what I believe, and that is what I believe all of you believe.
Science rules!
And she has heard, as I have heard, that the scientific community is virtually unanimous in telling us, and I can't speak under the sun today, it makes the point, I think, that here in Iowa you got some wonderful people who work really, really hard, who are good parents, decent human beings, who are going to vote for Donald Trump. Now I want to say a word to them. You're angry and you're hurting. I know that. And you have a right to be angry. You have a right to be frustrated and disgusted with the fact that we have the worst income and wealth inequality of any major country on earth. You have the right to be angry when you are working 2 or 3 jobs and 52% of all new income generated today is going to the top 1%. You have the right to be angry that in America, if you're a young couple, you cannot find good quality, affordable childcare. And you're worried about whether or not you can send your kid to college. And you're worried that if you're 60 years of age, you may not have a nickel in the bank as you reach retirement age. And you're right to be upset that the company that you work for shut down in America and went for cheap labor abroad. I understand that. But take your anger out on the right people. Let's take our anger out on the greed and recklessness of Wall Street that destroyed our economy. Take your anger out on the fossil fuel industry, who worry more about their short-term profits than the future of our planet. Take your anger out on the pharmaceutical industry, who make billions in profit and charge us the highest prices in the world for the medicine we desperately need. So to those Iowans, those people in this beautiful, beautiful state who are thinking of voting for Mr. Trump, let me just run through the issues. Now, too often what the media does is make campaigns a personality contest. We are not voting for president of the senior class in the local high school. This is not a personality contest. People don't like Trump, people don't like Clinton. I get it. But go beyond the personality. Look at the issues and how they impact your lives. Don't worry about Hillary, don't worry about Trump. Worry about your own families. If you are in Iowa and you're working out for 10 or 11 bucks an hour, there is one candidate who wants to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. That candidate is Hillary Clinton. If you are a woman sick and tired of making 79 cents on the dollar compared to men, there is one candidate running for president who believes in pay equity, equal pay for equal work, That's Hillary Clinton. Been that the American people will think big, not small. Take a look around the world, learn from what goes on in other countries. And if you do that, you'll find some interesting facts. And that is that all over the world, in every major country and almost every poor country, if a woman has a baby, she is able to stay home with that baby for many, many months in order to get to nurture and love that baby. If you study the issue, you'll find there is only one major country on earth that does not guarantee paid family and medical leave. You're living in that country. That has got to change. That we should be hiring teachers, not firing teachers. That climate change is real, it is caused by human activity, and it is already causing devastating problems in our country and around the world. That's the reality. And what the scientists also tell us, we are taking on now unbelievably powerful, greedy people whose greed is destroying this country. Our job together is to tell them America belongs to all of us, not just a handful of billionaires. Is a situation where the Koch brothers, Sheldon Adelson, and a handful of billionaires are spending hundreds of millions of dollars to purchase candidates who will represent their interests, not the interests of the American people.
Fuck that!
And if you want, well, that's one way to phrase it. If you want to know, there are many, many differences, and I'm going to get into it, between Secretary Clinton. We have hundreds of thousands of bright young people who have done well in high school, who have the desire to get a higher education. They cannot, for one reason alone, and that is their families lack the money. Now, Secretary Clinton and I believe that 40 years ago, if you had a high school degree, you could do okay. Odds are you go out and get yourself a pretty good job. The world has changed. Today, when we talk about public education, it cannot be just first grade through 12th grade. We have got to make public colleges and universities tuition free. And 100 years ago in America, women were not running for president. They didn't have the right to vote. They didn't have the right to get the education or the jobs they wanted. But millions of women and their male allies, 5 years ago, no time at all, if we were here in Iowa City and somebody jumped up and said, you know, this $7.25 federal minimum wage is a starvation wage. We've got to raise it to $15 an hour. The person next to him would have said, you are nuts. You want to double the minimum wage. It can't be done. You're too radical. You're too progressive. You're dreaming too big. And yet what happened is 3 years ago in Seattle, Washington, $15 an hour. California, New York State, $15 an hour. Economists were worried that not only would the American financial system collapse, but the entire global financial system would collapse, and you would go to an ATM machine, put in your credit card, and nothing would come out. That is where we were 8 years ago today, after 8 years of Bush's trickle-down economics. My friends, we are not going back to trickle-down economics and tax breaks for billionaires and cuts to programs for workers. And while we have come a long way in improving the economy, thank you, President Obama. We also know that we have a long, long way to go to create the economy that works for working families. We all know that too many of our people are working hard and not earning enough money. That real unemployment, if you include those people who have given up looking for work or working part-time when they want to work full-time, is over 9%, much too high. And that is why Secretary Clinton believes we have to create millions of good-paying jobs by rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. Anybody here with student debt? All right, who can tell me what kind of interest rates you're paying?
A lot.
8?
7.
6.8? What else? 9, 11? All right. Here is the story on that. Right now, if you wanted to go out and buy a new car, you could probably find interest rates of 1-2%. You wanted to refinance your home in Vermont, we do it at about 3 or 4%. I don't know what it is here. Probably the same. And yet we have people paying 8, 10, 12% interest rates on their student debt. What Secretary Clinton believes and what I believe is anybody holding student debt should be able to refinance those loans at the lowest interest rates they can. That would mean, dare I say it, huge reductions in student debt for many people. And there's another area. Anybody here familiar with a federal program called the National Health Service Corps? Anybody hear of it? All right, a few people have. What it is, and I played an active role in getting funding for it, it's a very sensible program that says to people, if you want to go to medical school, if you're in medical school, if you're in dental school, if you're in nursing school, if you're in a graduate school devoted to healthcare, if you are prepared to practice your profession in a medically underserved area, federal government will forgive your debt. I think it is time to expand that program. We need many, many great teachers, child care workers. We need people in all aspects of public life. If you're prepared to serve your fellow Americans in a nonprofit institution, your debt should be forgiven. We assemble, and we will not allow the Koch brothers and a handful of other billionaires to convert this country into an oligarchy. Ain't gonna happen. Is to do everything that you can in the next 4 days to see that Donald Trump does not become our president and that Hillary Clinton does.
Yeah. Love you!
And then what I'm asking of you is the day after the election, let's get to work to make sure that this platform is implemented and that we transform this country.